Before you can truly change your results, you have to change the way you see yourself. This is where most people struggle. They try to change what they do without changing who they believe they are. They tell themselves they want to become disciplined, healthy, confident, successful, or mentally strong, but deep inside, they continue repeating the old identity. I am lazy. I always quit. I am not consistent. I have tried before and failed. Every time you repeat these words, you reinforce the version of yourself you are trying to leave behind. Your life often follows the identity you practice in your mind. If you believe you are someone who cannot wake up early, you will find reasons to stay in bed. If you believe you are someone who always procrastinates, delaying important work will feel normal. If you believe you are unhealthy, weak, or incapable of change, even your smallest setbacks can seem like proof that nothing will ever be different. But these beliefs are not necessarily permanent truths. Many of them are simply stories you have repeated so often that they have become familiar. For the next 7 days, begin questioning the old story. You do not need to pretend that your past never happened. You do not need to deny your mistakes, failures, or weaknesses, but you must stop using yesterday as a permanent definition of tomorrow. The person you were last week does not have to control the choices you make today. A past failure is an event. It is not an identity. A bad habit is a behavior. It is not your destiny. Transformation begins with a simple but powerful question. What would the strongest version of me do next? Not next month, not after everything becomes perfect. What would that person do right now? Perhaps that person would get out of bed instead of pressing the snooze button. Perhaps they would drink water, go for a walk, complete the difficult task, turn off the unnecessary distraction, or speak to themselves with greater respect. The action may seem small, but every action is evidence. Your mind pays attention to evidence. When you repeatedly make choices that match a new standard, you begin creating proof that you are capable of becoming different. You do not become disciplined because you wait to feel disciplined. You become disciplined when you practice discipline. You do not become confident by waiting for fear to disappear. You build confidence when you act despite uncertainty and discover that you can handle more than you once believed. This is why the first few days matter so much. The goal is not to become perfect in 7 days. The goal is to interrupt the automatic pattern. Your old identity survives through repetition. You wake up the same way, think the same thoughts, follow the same routines, consume the same distractions, and then wonder why your life continues to produce familiar results. If you want a different outcome, something inside your daily pattern has to change. Start becoming more intentional about the language you use. Instead of saying, I am trying to be healthy, remind yourself, I am becoming someone who takes care of my body. Instead of saying, I hope I can stay consistent, say, I keep promises to myself. Instead of calling yourself lazy after one unproductive day, recognize the mistake and return to action. Your identity should not collapse because of one difficult moment. Every morning gives you another opportunity to cast a vote for the person you want to become. One healthy meal may not transform your body overnight, but it is a vote. One completed workout is a vote. 1 hour of focused work is a vote. Choosing sleep instead of another hour of meaningless distraction is a vote. One courageous conversation is a vote for becoming stronger. At first, the new identity may feel unfamiliar. That is normal. Growth often feels uncomfortable because your mind is leaving what is familiar. But unfamiliar does not mean impossible. Continue choosing the behaviors that reflect the person you want to become, especially when nobody is watching. Stop waiting for dramatic motivation to rescue you. Let your standards guide you when your emotions are inconsistent, and let each small decision become evidence that the old version of you is no longer making every choice. Your body and your energy are deeply connected. When your body is constantly exhausted, your mind becomes more vulnerable to distraction, negative thinking, poor decisions, and a lack of motivation. That is why transformation is not only about changing your appearance, it is also about changing the way you feel when you wake up, the way you move through your day, and the amount of physical and mental energy you have available to pursue the life you want. For the next 7 days, begin treating your body as something worth rebuilding. You do not need an extreme diet. You do not need to punish yourself with exhausting workouts. You do not need to make your life complicated. The most powerful changes often begin with the basics done consistently. Sleep deeply, move regularly, drink enough water, eat foods that support your body. Spend time in natural light. Give your mind periods of quiet. These simple actions may not seem dramatic, but your body responds to what you repeatedly provide. Start with sleep because everything becomes more difficult when you are chronically tired. A tired mind looks for the easiest path. It craves stimulation, comfort, and immediate rewards. It becomes harder to focus, harder to regulate emotions, and harder to make thoughtful choices. For 7 days, create a stronger relationship with rest. Give yourself a reasonable bedtime. Reduce unnecessary stimulation before sleep. Step away from endless scrolling and allow your mind to slow down. You do not have to make every night perfect. You simply have to start respecting the recovery your body needs. Then begin moving your body every day. Movement does not have to mean spending hours in a gym. A purposeful walk can change the way you feel. Stretching can remind your body that it was designed to move. Strength training, when appropriate for your fitness level, can help you develop physical capability and confidence. Even a few minutes of movement can interrupt long periods of inactivity and help you feel more awake. The goal is not to punish your body for what it looks like. The goal is to reconnect with it and gradually become stronger. Pay attention to what happens when you move. Your breathing changes. Your circulation increases. Your muscles become active. Your mind often becomes clearer. You begin remembering that energy is not always something you wait for. Sometimes you create momentum by taking the first step. On the days when you feel least motivated, do something small. Walk for a few minutes. Perform a few simple movements. Step outside. Once you begin, your body may remind you that you are more capable than your thoughts suggested. Hydration is another simple habit that deserves attention. Throughout the day, give your body regular opportunities to receive water, especially when heat, exercise, or daily activity increase your needs. Do not wait until you have ignored your body for hours. Build the habit of caring for yourself before you reach the point of complete exhaustion. Think about energy as something you support through repeated choices, rather than something you demand from your body, without giving anything in return. The food you eat can also influence how you feel throughout the day. Instead of searching for a perfect diet, focus on creating better patterns. Choose more nourishing foods. Include adequate protein, fiber-rich foods, fruits, vegetables, and other foods that fit your individual needs. Reduce the habit of eating purely out of boredom, stress, or constant exposure to temptation. Slow down long enough to notice what you are giving your body. Every meal is another opportunity to practice self-respect rather than another reason to feel guilty. You also need to protect your energy from things that are not physical. Constant notifications, endless arguments, negative information, and excessive screen time can leave your mind feeling just as exhausted as physical overwork. For 7 days, become more aware of what you allow into your attention. You do not have to disappear from the world, but you can create moments when your mind is not being pulled in 10 different directions. Sit quietly. Take a walk without constantly checking your phone. Breathe slowly for a few moments. Give yourself enough silence to recognize how much unnecessary noise you have been carrying. When you begin sleeping better, moving more, eating with greater intention, staying hydrated, and protecting your attention, you may start noticing changes that go beyond appearance. You may stand differently. You may feel more alert in the morning. Your thoughts may become less chaotic. You may have more patience, greater confidence, and a stronger willingness to take action. This is how a physical reset can support a deeper transformation. Because when you consistently care for your body, you begin sending yourself a powerful message that your future is worth the effort you make today. There are things in your life that may be quietly making you weaker, and if you want to become unrecognizable in 7 days, you need to identify them with honesty. Not everything that feels comfortable is helping you grow. Some habits give you immediate pleasure while slowly taking away your energy. Some environments feel familiar while keeping you trapped in the same patterns. Some thoughts seem harmless because you have repeated them for years, yet they continue to limit what you believe is possible. Weakness does not always arrive in an obvious form. Sometimes it looks like one more hour of mindless scrolling. Sometimes it looks like avoiding the difficult conversation you know you need to have. Sometimes it is staying up late when your body needs rest, constantly postponing important work, or repeatedly choosing comfort over the actions that would actually move your life forward. These choices may seem small when viewed individually, but repeated every day, they can gradually shape the direction of your life. For the next 7 days, pay attention to what drains you. Ask yourself a difficult question. What am I continuing to allow that is making my life harder? You may already know the answer. Perhaps it is a habit you have been excusing. Perhaps it is constant distraction. Perhaps it is negative self-talk that appears every time you try to improve. Perhaps it is the fear of disappointing others, which causes you to say yes when you really need to say no. Real change requires more than adding better habits. Sometimes you must remove what is preventing those habits from taking root. One of the greatest sources of weakness is the constant need for comfort. Your brain naturally looks for easier paths, especially when you are tired, stressed, or uncertain. But a life built entirely around avoiding discomfort can become very small. Growth often requires doing something before you feel ready. It requires getting started when motivation is low, remaining focused when distraction is available, and continuing when the excitement of a new goal begins to fade. This does not mean you should be harsh with yourself. Eliminating weakness is not about hating who you are or punishing yourself for your mistakes. It is about becoming more honest about the consequences of your choices. If something repeatedly steals your time, damages your focus, or leaves you feeling worse about yourself, you do not need to keep pretending it has no effect. Awareness gives you the opportunity to choose differently. Look carefully at the information you consume every day. Your attention is valuable, and whatever repeatedly enters your mind can influence your thoughts, emotions, and behavior. If your day begins with comparison, outrage, negativity, and endless stimulation, it becomes much harder to remain calm and focused. For 7 days, create some distance from unnecessary noise. You do not need to know everything happening every minute. You do not need to respond to every notification. Give your mind room to think. Also, examine the promises you make to yourself. Every time you tell yourself you will do something and repeatedly refuse to follow through, you may weaken your trust in your own word. Start rebuilding that trust with smaller promises. Do not create an impossible list and then feel defeated when you cannot complete it. Choose a few meaningful actions and complete them. Wake up when you said you would. Take the walk you promised yourself. Finish the task you have been avoiding. Go to bed with the knowledge that you followed through on something important. You must also become aware of the people and situations that consistently pull you backward. This does not mean blaming others for your life, because your choices remain your responsibility. But your environment matters. If you are constantly surrounded by distraction, pessimism, temptation, or pressure to remain the same, changing becomes more difficult. Protect your goals by creating healthier boundaries and spending more time in environments that support the person you are becoming. For these 7 days, stop feeding the habits that feed your weakness. When you feel the urge to escape into distraction, pause. When negative thoughts begin repeating the old story, question them. When you want to postpone the difficult task, take the first small step instead. Every time you interrupt an old pattern, you create space for a new one. You are not required to change your entire life in a single moment, but you are required to become conscious of the choices that are shaping it, because the more you remove what continually drains your strength, focus, discipline, and self-respect, the more space you create for the stronger version of yourself to take control. Consistency is what turns a decision into a transformation. Anyone can feel motivated for a few hours. Anyone can make a powerful promise after watching an inspiring video or experiencing a difficult moment. The real difference begins when the emotion fades and you continue anyway. Over the next 7 days, your goal is not to perform perfectly. Your goal is to prove to yourself that you can continue showing up, even when the excitement disappears. Most people underestimate the power of 7 focused days. They think change requires a perfect plan, unlimited motivation, or a dramatic event. But often, the first real transformation happens when you stop negotiating with yourself about the small things. You decide what matters, and then you do it again tomorrow. You wake up and follow through. You move your body even when you would rather remain comfortable. You complete the important task even when nobody is praising you. You choose discipline not because it feels exciting, but because you have decided that your future deserves your effort. For these 7 days, create a few simple promises that you can realistically keep. Do not overwhelm yourself by trying to transform every area of your life at once. Choose the actions that matter most. Perhaps you will wake up at a consistent time. Perhaps you will exercise or walk every day. Perhaps you will spend focused time on the work you have been avoiding. Perhaps you will stop scrolling after a certain hour and give yourself proper rest. The exact habits can be different for every person, but the principle remains the same. Choose your standards before your emotions begin making decisions for you. There will be moments when you do not feel like continuing. Expect those moments. Do not be surprised when your mind starts offering excuses. It may tell you that one missed day does not matter. It may tell you that you can start again tomorrow. It may tell you that you deserve a break before you have even begun. Listen carefully to these thoughts, but do not automatically obey them. You do not have to win every argument inside your mind. Sometimes you simply need to take the next action. Consistency becomes powerful when you stop making every decision a debate. If you promised yourself a morning walk, put on your shoes and go. If you decided to work for 30 focused minutes, begin the timer and start. If you plan to sleep earlier, prepare for sleep instead of searching for one more distraction. The more often you follow through, the less energy you waste deciding whether you should do what you already know is important. Remember that relentless consistency does not mean relentless perfection. You may have a difficult day. You may wake up late. You may feel tired, distracted, or frustrated. Do not allow one imperfect moment to become permission to abandon the entire process. The old pattern often says, "I already failed, so there is no point continuing." Replace that pattern with something stronger. Return to the plan at the next opportunity. One poor decision does not have to control the rest of your day. Each day should build upon the previous one. Day 1 is about beginning. Day 2 is about returning. Day 3 is about proving that your first effort was not an accident. By day 4, you may start noticing resistance because your old habits recognize that something is changing. By day 5, your confidence can begin growing through evidence. By day 6, you understand that you have already survived the difficult moments you once thought would stop you. By day 7, you have something more valuable than temporary motivation, proof that you can trust yourself to continue. This is where the transformation becomes visible. Your posture may change because you feel more in control. Your energy may change because your days have more structure. Your confidence may increase because you have stopped breaking every promise you make to yourself. You begin carrying yourself differently when you know that your actions are finally starting to match your intentions. Do not wait for the end of 7 days to decide whether you have changed. Change is happening every time you choose the better action when the easier action is available. It is happening every time you get back up after a difficult moment. It is happening when you continue without applause, without immediate results, and without anyone forcing you to do it. Keep the promises simple, keep your attention focused, and keep returning to the actions that represent the person you are becoming. Because after 7 days of showing up with discipline and purpose, you may realize that the most important thing you built was the ability to stop depending on motivation and start depending on your own commitment.